we don't have Kawhi anymore. We might not even have Kyle anymore. So like, what is it that's going to get guys to come up to Toronto and play in Canada, away from probably their families, in a different country? Somebody like Kyle, who's like a leader, would get guys to do that. And if we don't have him, then I'm just worried about the next few years if that happens. But
yeah, it was a steep
maybe it's just time
after Kawhi decided to not go with Drake's plan.
Oh my God.
He did not go God's plan. He went to the Clippers and he ruined his life.
He went Satan's plan.
Yeah, he went to Satan's plan and he sucks now. He should have stayed in Toronto. So hey guys, welcome on into Drinks with Binks. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks, and we are rolling right along, continuing our celebration of 1 year of working from home, which means we've been staying safe this entire year, and we haven't had to go to work, and my coworkers haven't had to see me. So it's a win all year round. All seriousness, of course, we're staying home to stay safe during a pandemic, and it's been very difficult on a lot of people. But the silver lining is that we have had a chance to get to chat with people that we might not normally be able to because of the distance, and one of those people is my next guest on the show. And that is none other than my good friend, a fellow Canadian, but also the host of Fox Bet Live on FS1 and host of Hall of Shame podcast, the Rachel Bonnetta. Thank you for joining us all the way from the City of Angels. Great to see you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I've legitimately been like, hey, Jules, your show looks so good. I'm free all the time.
We want to do a little Canadian toast, I think, here on the show. Yes. What are we drinking today?
Well, I don't know how you found this in New York, and I really don't know how I found this in Los Angeles as well, but this is Moosehead. This is a Canadian beer. Obviously, it's called Moosehead. Yes. And it's just, I don't know if people recognize this outside of our country, but there's a specific taste to Canadian beer, I feel like. Also, this is my bottle opener. Oh,
perfect.
I'm a dork.
What would you describe as the specific taste to Canadian beer?
Stinky.
Yeah.
Like a skunky, it's like a skunky beer.
No, cheers, it's better than that. Okay, before you go, what are we toasting to today?
Me sleeping on your couch, and we're still friends many years later. Something like
You're
that.
You're sleeping on my couch, and now me needing to sleep on yours. Hey! Okay, cheers. Great to see you, bud.
That is, can I tell a quick story, though?
Yes, that's what you're here.
I'll make it real quick. Julie we didn't even really know each other that well.
I'd say.
And I was moving to Los Angeles. I don't know how this came to be, but we were fans of each other and always saw each other at events and stuff. It's so friendly.
MLS.
Through MLS, we were both covering soccer. And I don't know but you found out that I was moving to Los Angeles and you offered me to live in your home because you were traveling like a crazy person. I barely ever saw you.
I just slept in my bed.
I slept on your couch, but I actually lived in your bedroom.
I was like my home doesn't have anybody living in it because I don't live in it.
And so I just lived in your home for the first month that I lived in LA, and it was just so nice to have a place to go without having to find an apartment that I would have never even seen, and then just agreed to live there.
And now look at all these people. They're all just coming to you like, hey, Rachel, can I sleep on your couch? But literally, can that happen?
Absolutely.
But in more fun news, Canadian stuff, you have not, and a segue to Canada, by the way, I decided to wear my Raptors jersey. Nice. I was like, either Rachel's going to be wearing Raptors stuff or she'll be super professional. And I'm like, she's going to look super professional, which...
I would have totally pulled out something. I literally ran. I was on TV 40 minutes ago. I'm still wearing my makeup. I ran in through the door to be on
That's why I was like, let's have you on after the show, because I know that's a perfect way. It's I already have the glam squad that did everything, which is
exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, it would have been bun on the side of my head.
But I wanted to ask you, we've been here in the States now for a couple years now. I'm coming up on, I feel like you're on the show. I just start into my Canadian accent. I'm like, oh yeah, bud. So coming up on 8 years here now.
As soon as I start drinking beer, doesn't matter even if it's an American beer, it starts to come out. My boyfriend makes fun of me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. What have you found is something that you say or said or a reference that's Canadian that people around you are like, what did you just say?
When I first moved to the United States, I was working in an office, and that was where I did all of my stand-ups for on-camera stuff. So anytime I messed up a name or said anything weird, 50 people in the office went, "Eee?"
It's
so like
worst.
I got rid of my stories and my tomorrows very quickly, very quickly, because it was It was like legitimately embarrassing. People would be like, "That's not how you say that word." And sometimes it'll still slip out, but
I found ones like 2-4.
Yeah.
I say knapsack all the time, and I didn't know that was a Canadian thing. I thought that was just like I'm from like 1800s.
I say I don't even know if people in Canada say this, but our family said converter for a television remote. We called it a converter. I still say that, and Pete still is just like, that's not.
Yeah, converter is definitely Canadian. I say channel changer, which would just be like a longer form.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you say that.
The electric box.
Can I have the electrical channel changer with the batteries in the back, please?
It is old-timey. Anyway, but we both were talking about some people that had some influence on us, Jay and Dan. I wanted to pour one out for the bods. Starts show. Love those guys.
I didn't even get to be. You were definitely closer to them, but I remember when I first met them, I was like starstruck.
Yeah, same.
And Dan didn't give a shit about me. It was just like, I was introduced by our good friend Matt Schneider, and this was like my first day at Fox, so I was getting introduced to everybody, which was very intimidating. And he was just like, Dan, I want you to meet my friend Rachel. And I was just like, hi, I'm such a big fan of yours. Like, I love you. And he was just like, hi. So anyways, what I was talking about was it, and I was just like, oh no. Like,
very Dan.
Dan's
Dan's just like
his day. It was so awkward.
Not impressed at all.
But then they found out I was Canadian, and then they were awesome.
That's amazing. Once it's like they find out you're Canadian, they're like, oh, come to our secret Canadian club.
She's one of us
now.
Totally.
But yeah, we were talking about it, and we know that, those guys had, like, they were huge superstars for us, like, watching them, growing up with them. But, like, what kind of influence do you think that they had kind of on you?
I think that when I was listening to you on the Jay and Dan podcast, I texted you this right after. I think that you nailed it. I think that they made it really okay and fun to be weird and, like, funny in yourself. And, like, Dan... Jay is the craziest person I've ever seen on television. Like, even just watching him now, and he's still doing like his dance thing. I'm like, how is this? This is just so fun and quirky and weird. And I think that you really hit it. Like, they just allowed us to feel okay to be us. And I feel like people just generally think Canadians are like giant goobers. Like, they just think we're dorks. And so I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. So, like, I mess up names. I say sorry sometimes. I don't really care. And that's exactly who I got that confidence from them. Yeah. See them broken up sucks.
I know. Like the you blew it segments and just like, they'd mess up names and stuff. And then, just be yourself and be weird. And because I ask you that as someone who is, in the comedy realm and sort of like very much yourself on air as you are off air, which is what they're like. So you've done so many things, TV, comedy, acting. Who are some of sort of like your influences that you look to and you're like, damn, they keep me going? You, first off. No. That's gonna sound so dorky, but just women that freaking grind. Like, I feel like it's tricky because this is gonna be probably a way deeper answer than you were expecting it to be. I think that there are so few women in sports and in comedy that we all feel like there's only one spot. There's only one place for all of us, and that can help us and hinder us. It can hinder us because it's not true. And you can end up having these very jealous situations, and you can feel very competitive with each other. And it can also help us because I'm seeing people like you who are like grinding it out and like constantly posting videos and like of these super interesting chats and you're having them with other women in the sports world. And I'm constantly just like super motivated by other women in this space. And you are 1000% one of them. People don't realize how hard it is to move from a different country and start from scratch, and we've both done that, and kudos to us, really. I'm my own inspiration. How about that? I'm sorry, my vision board is me. But no, thank you. That is much too kind of you to say that, and I do agree with that. And Katie Nolan and I had a similar chat in that I had someone once tell me, oh, well, there is already Katie Nolan already does that. And I was like, cool. Well, Conan O'Brien does that and Jay Leno does that. And, you know, there's all these different late night hosts and different things like that. So it's just getting people out of the idea that like, oh, more than one woman could do a thing at a time. And I think it's sports and comedy are so masculine. And then putting them together is like insane. So
sounds great.
But we have a whole lot more to get to.
I'm gonna be sleeping on your couch again.
Yes, yeah. I'm gonna have 100 couches. Okay, we've got a whole lot more to come with Rachel Bonnetta from FS1 after this. Hey guys, welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB. We've got Rachel Bonnetta here from FS1, also co-host of Hall of Shame podcast, just overall genuine beauty from Canada. And I gotta ask, you're a massive Cleveland Browns fan, and why?
Okay, I'll try and make this quick. Basically, I grew up in Canada. The household that I grew up in did not watch any kind of football, not even the CFL. So, and then I worked in soccer for like 8 years. And so when I got to Fox, they were always kind of like, hey, you should start watching more football and like just become a football fan. Because if you do that, we can put you on more programming and you'll be able to talk about this kind of stuff. And I was just like, okay, sounds good to me. And I never really did it because that just seemed like a lot of work. Like I was just kind of...
I'll do that later, yeah.
I will do that later. To do later.
Yeah.
I'd watch, you know, like on weekends, but I really enjoy having my weekends free. And so I went to Russia to cover the World Cup, which was crazy. And we did a great job and won an Emmy and all these fun, exciting things. And when I got back, our bosses were kind of like, okay, so like, what do you want to do now? And I was just like, more stuff. And they're like, okay, well, we're starting this gambling show and Carissa Thompson's going to be the host of it. And we really want you to be her fill-in whenever she wants to go on vacations or get sick or anything like that. You'll be the number one fill-in spot. And I was just like, okay. And they're like, just go and learn everything that there is about sports gambling and just become a huge football fan. And I was just like, okay, to do later.
Yeah.
And then I got a call a week later and was just like, Chris is out, you're in, you're hosting the show. And I was just like, what? And they sent me a sports gambling Bible and they're like, go away and memorize all of this and then come back in 2 weeks. That's when our first show is. And so I literally fled to Mexico, Jules. Like my boyfriend and I were supposed to go to Croatia. This was after the World Cup. I was exhausted. We were supposed to go on this like nice vacation and that all got canceled. So we went to Mexico and I literally just studied this book from front to back and just studied every single football team that existed and who their quarterbacks was and who the coaches were and what the storylines were. And by the time I got back, I was ready to go and I hosted the show. And that was the year that the Cleveland Browns were on Hard Knocks. Mm-hmm. And so I watched that just to like be in on the conversation. And I was just like, what is this scrappy team doing in the NFL? And with Baker Mayfield and Hugh Jackson, and they were just so bad and they had the beer fridge and
very likable then. Yeah.
Two games in, I was just like, this is my squad. Mm-hmm. Beer fridge is unlocked. Cleveland's going crazy. I'm like, I look no further. This is my team. Just like, I've truly, and I'm not just saying this, I really fell in love with the game besides all the, you know, bullshit that comes with it. I've fallen in love with football, fell in love with the Browns. Year one, so much fun. Year two, absolute shit show. I was just like, what have I done last year? So much fun. Made it to the playoffs. All in, baby. All in. I'm obsessed.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. Cause I've always been like, I know Rachel could not have been a Browns fan growing up in Canada. There's just like no way ever at all.
No.
And to transition to Canada, obviously got my Raps jersey on. It doesn't hit as well these days as it used to when we wore this. Rachel and I were fortunate enough to go to 2 NBA Finals games and we watched the Raptors win it all, which was incredible. What was you're a bigger Raptors fan than I am because I'm a bigger hockey fan. But for Raptors, what was your like lasting memory of all that?
Well, I don't have a great memory of the night that we won.
Other than when I lost my passport.
Except for popping some kind of bubbly in the car on the way home. Gosh, honestly, it was just doing it with a bud, like doing it with a friend that appreciated it as much as I did. Like, I don't think going with like my boyfriend or even my family would have felt as cool as really experiencing it with you. But you know what? I always say my favorite moment out of that whole thing was not game 6 when we won. It was game 1 in Toronto. Ooh, I got chills even just saying that. It was in Toronto. And we won against the Warriors, the first game of the series when no one really thought we were going to do it. And
they were bad in game 1s typically, and the whole place was...
The whole city shut down, and we stayed out until the wee hours of the morning. And I remember I remember sitting at Pizza across from you at like 3 a.m. and being like, this night was sick.
Yeah, I was going to say Pizza definitely made an appearance in that evening. It felt like they won it all.
Sober. Yeah, it truly did. And I think that Canadians are so used to teams being shitty that it was almost as if like, well, this is as good as it's going to get, baby. So like, here we are, let's just have a night. And everyone had a night, and it was just the best.
And they're like, oh, there's another game to play. Wow.
That was, we won game 1.
That was definitely that was such a highlight. People were dancing in the street. It was incredible. Okay, so trade deadline is this week. Of course, we don't. When we're shooting this on a Monday. This will air on Wednesday. But how do you feel? We kind of talked about this, but as a Raptors fan, when you like see Kyle Lowry's name like as trade bait out there,
it's tough because like. You want a really strong squad. You want like younger guys who are like really going to make a difference. And Kyle has just been such a staple in the Raptors for like a good amount of time that I have been a fan that it would be really heartbreaking to see him go. But I'm also thinking like maybe now's the time for him to go. It's a tricky situation because I also look at him as like such a giant leader on this team. And I feel like guys, we don't have Kawhi anymore. We might not even have Kyle anymore. So like, what is it that's going to get guys to come up to Toronto and play in Canada away from probably their families in a different country? Somebody like Kyle, who's like a leader, would get guys to do that. And if we don't have him, then I'm just worried about the next few years if that happens. But
yeah, it was a steep drop off after Kawhi decided to not go with Drake's plan.
Oh my God.
He did not go God's plan. He went to the Clippers and he ruined his life.
He went Satan's plan.
He went to Satan's plan and he sucks now. He should have stayed in Toronto. So I agree with you on that. We have to go to break, but I do want to ask you after the break, why Americans are so weirded out by the Raptors, because they are. All right, we'll answer that and a whole lot more with Rachel Bonnetta, FS1 on Drinks with Binks. Don't go anywhere. Hey guys, welcome back into Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB. We've got Rachel Bonnetta from FS1 Fox Bet Live sipping on some Mooseheads. We're just talking about the Toronto Raptors, and I always find as though the Raptors seem like an alien team to the rest of America, even though they play in the same league. They just are in a different country. What's America's problem with the Raptors?
I think it's just America's problem with Canada. I said this earlier. For some reason, they just think we're gigantic dorks. That we're just like nerdy. And we just talk like hosers and just that like we're from, Northern Ontario. I don't know what the deal is. Because like you and I both have lived in Toronto. We see a completely different side. Like Drake's pretty cool depending on who you ask. And like he loves to live there. The women are beautiful and smart. And the dudes are cool. And there's hockey and basketball and beautiful imagery and lakes. And I just think that people don't get it. They don't get what we see.
Yeah, they like don't want to know. They treat it's just like this foreign. It's xenophobia maybe. But they're just like, oh, the Raptors. Like, what is this crazy thing? It's like just because the money is plastic and doesn't rip and it's actually better. You shouldn't have any kind of whatever. I always just find it odd. Like we always have to come with like the shields against people.
But I think that's, some people think it's so lame that Drake is as involved with the Raptors as he is. I actually think it's genius because having his influence trying to get guys up north and like live in a city of like Toronto that gets very cold and isn't necessarily as cool as a place like New York or something like that. Like I would choose Toronto over sorry, middle of the country.
Yes.
Over
like many American cities, Toronto. It's actually like the 4th largest. But yeah, and also if Drake's on your team, you like that. So anyways, we settled it. Canada's awesome. Okay, we want to know, Rach, you are, very, you play a lot of characters. You are at Groundlings. You've written a pilot for a show. Like, where's the Rachel Bonnetta vision board going for Hollywood wise?
Okay, it's tricky because a lot of things on the dream board coming true, Jules. I just can't talk about it on this show.
Oh my god!
We'll FaceTime about it after.
Can you give us a little teaser, just like something on the vision board that
I don't know what I'm allowed to
in the realm
to tease. I think that what I hope is over the next few months, people start to, not that I care what people think, because I don't, but people will start to see me in a different way than just a television host, I think.
Right.
That's what I think will hopefully happen.
I think people see you in many different ways.
Oh, that's such a compliment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like I would say television host almost like second or third. Like you're very funny.
Thank you.
And you're very personable. And like I'd see the comedy before the like TV host.
Thank you. I remember being interviewed. Sometimes you just get like random interviews, but you like want to promote whatever they want to promote. So like I remember when we launched our podcast, some guy was just like, "I'd love to have you on my podcast to like interview you about the show." And I was like, "Yes, anything to like get the word out." And I was just like, I loosely referred to myself as like a person that does comedy, and he was just like, he was like, I'm sorry. We had moved on, and he came back to that. He was like, okay, so like when you mentioned that you were a person that does comedy, what do you mean by that? Because like I see you as like a television host, and I was just like, oh, that's the cruelest thing that anybody could ever say
thanks.
to me. And then I had to explain it. Yeah, you say like I should probably
I just say like you would never assume that I've done stand-up comedy, nor do I look like or sound like anyone that could possibly have something funny that would come out of my mouth. But I've tried to do those things, and so I'm like,
none of
Canadian.
of the things that you just said are true. When we went golfing together with like a bunch of bros, with a weird tournament situation. Julie was cracking everybody up. You were like doing stand-up jokes the whole time.
I had a drink at every hole. I had 18 drinks.
I think you're so funny. I think you're super funny.
Thanks. Really good to know that. All it takes is just a couple of these bad boys and she is ready to roll. What a great promotion for Moosehead, only on Drinks with Binks.
Moosehead will be your girls.
Yeah, we'll be your girls, Moosehead. We will be your mooses. We will have a whole lot more. That's comedy right there. We'll have a whole lot more with Drinks with Binks and Rachel Bonnetta after this. Guys, we've had an awesome time drinking and binking here with Rachel Bonnetta. And Rach, where can we find all of your wonderful content next?
Well, you can catch me on FS1 Fox Bet Live every day at 2 p.m. Pacific. And you can follow me on Twitter at Rachel Bonnetta, on Instagram at Rachel Bonnetta. And, things are moving and grooving. And that's all I can say.
I love hearing that. And too bad we couldn't get any scoops here. We're real good on scoops.
I'll come back when there's scoops to be had. Okay.
Okay, good. When I'll be booking through your crazy publicist will be like, oh no, we're not doing that show. Not at all.
Lose my number.
No, but it's been great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for coming on here, hanging out with us. And guys, we actually had an interview with Rachel at the Super Bowl last year when people were allowed to be around one another. And we were at the Fox compound, so you can see that if you want more Rachel Bonnetta content on our Fubo social at Fubo Sports on YouTube. And until next time, bottoms up, bitches.
Bye, bud. Thanks for having me.